Thank you.
So I got 1 minute to start. Good morning. I am Reverend Barbara Gaydon, and I'm honored to serve you as your lead minister. I am so pleased to welcome all of you, those watching from home and those who have joined us this morning in person at Eliot Chapel. We are one community, united, more together than apart. If you're visiting for the first time, a special welcome to you. We are so glad that you chose to be with us today. I hope that you feel warmly welcomed and that today's message speaks to you and that we will see you again. If you're here in person, please fill out the guest card on your way out so that we can stay in touch with you. If you're at home, drop a line to welcome@eliotchapel.org, letting us know that you're here. I always kind of look up when I say the things to people who are in the ethosphere. I just sort of feel like that gets there better. I don't know why. Just a note. This is a liberal religious community of spiritual seekers. We welcome you in the fullness of your age, race, ethnicity, gender expression, sexual orientation, and religious background. Our faith is not lived in creeds, but in deeds. Not in the hereafter, but the here and now. Our core values are freedom, reason, respect, and love. A few reminders about our COVID protocol. Masks must be worn at all times and properly with your above the nose, below the chin, and whether you're inside or outside. We have masks if you need one. If you're 12 and up, you must be fully vaccinated to come to worship. And there's no eating or drinking in our building, so we're not tempted to take off our masks. Our social hour takes place outside, or sometimes in here, I've noticed, after the service. Welcome, warmest welcome to Eliot Chapel. Let there be joy in our coming together this morning. Let there be truth heard in the words that we speak and the songs that we sing. Let there be help and healing for our disharmony and despair. Let there be silence for the voice within us and beyond us. Let there be joy in our coming together. Come, let us worship. And we now light our chalice, which is the symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith. We light this chalice, gathering around a bowl of light, a flame by which to not only see but imagine. May it lift and inspire us as a community today. Our opening hymn is going to be number 236, O Joyful Day. It's on the words are on the back of your order of service. Please rise in body or in spirit.
Good morning. My name is Shauna Lemke, and I've been a quiet member of Eliot Chapel for about 14 years. I recently joined the Social Justice Committee because of my desire to support our schools in their progress to be more inclusive and equitable, and to provide young people an honest and complete look at the history of all of our people. We need these perspectives in order to build communities so that we can succeed together. I appreciate that Eliot is a place that allows us to live these values. Will you now please join me in reading together the Congregational Covenant in your order of service. As a free congregation, we promise to one another our mutual trust and support. To create a beloved community, we promise to be kinder to each other than we have to be, to listen fully to each other with an open heart and heart, to speak responsibly and respectfully, to find ways to improve our church for all members and friends.
We are coming upon a very, very special day in the solar calendar, which is Winter Solstice. At Winter Solstice, it is the longest night and the shortest day of the year, at least in the northern hemisphere. In the southern hemisphere, it's the longest day and the shortest night of the year. And in pagan times, and by pagan what I mean, this morning, I mean those tribal religions in Europe that existed before Christianity arrived through the Roman Empire, that were earth-centered, that the seasons and nature was the basis of their faith. And in those ancient times, this journey towards the longest night of the year was a very sacred journey because it was a time of emptying. Once fall got going and all the trees lost their leaves and the grasses died back and the flowers died back and the sun became less and less and it got colder and colder, it felt to those ancient ones that the gods were in fact leaving them. And then when the sun comes back, when it starts coming back at the beginning of the winter season, that is a sign that the gods have returned, that life has returned. And this focus on life returning, for instance, is why garland, anything green, was part of a celebration. The Christmas tree was a pagan celebration. The garland, the mistletoe, anything with color was brought out at this time to remind them that the sun was coming back. Now today, there are many among us who have resurrected these pagan traditions as a way of reclaiming a culture that existed prior to Christianization. And in Unitarian Universalism, this became very popular and came into our faith predominantly through Unitarian Universalist women who were also second-wave feminists who were determined to find a spiritual practice to bring femininity into our congregations, a feminine spirituality, and also an earth-centered focus. So there are many among us who are moving towards this day with a great sense of reverence. And it's this that we are celebrating today. We're not quite at winter solstice, it happens in a few days, but we are celebrating the return of the sun. In the pagan tradition, when you start a ceremony, you always call in the four directions. The four directions are very powerful in earth-centered pagan traditions grounded in a European past. Very, very powerful. And today we are going to call in the four directions. And we've got a wonderful team here that is going to call them in with us. And you're welcome to participate in this calling in the four directions. If you're rather observed because you're not familiar with it or you're not sure about it, that is also totally fine. And before we start, I'm going to teach you the song. The lyrics are in your order of service, but it's a very, very simple song that you soon probably won't even need to see the words. And we sing it 4 times for each direction as we call in the directions. And this is how the song goes. I'm going to start with the north. Spirit of the earth, carry me. Spirit of the earth, carry me home. Spirit of the earth, carry me home to myself. Let's sing it one time together. Spirit of the earth, carry me. Spirit of the earth, carry me home. Spirit of the earth, carry me home to myself. Let us begin. Those of you who wish to participate, I would invite you to rise. We're going to start by facing east.
Times of planting, inspire us with the fresh breath of courage as we go forth into new adventures. Spirit of the earth, carry me. Spirit of the wind, carry me home. Spirit of the wind, carry me home to myself. Spirit of the wind, carry me. Spirit of the wind, carry me home.
Spirit of the South, Spirit of fire, of noontime and summer, be with us through the heat of the day and help us to be ever growing. Warm us with strength and energy for the work that awaits us.
Spirit of the West, Spirit of water, of evening and autumn, be with us as the sun sets and help us enjoy a rich harvest. Flow through us with a cooling, healing quietness and bring us peace. Spirit of
Spirit of the North, Spirit of earth, of nighttime and winter, be with us in the darkness, in the time of gestation. Ground us in the wisdom of the changing seasons as we celebrate the spiraling journey of our lives.
By the mother of us all, by the sweet wind of life, by the fire of our spirit, by the living water, this circle is cast.
Spirit of prayer and meditation. If you wish to, you may plant your feet flat on the floor. Straighten your spine. Close your eyes and follow your breath. As we follow this meditation by the Reverend Lynn Cox. We pause as the path of the sun reverses and seems to hold its place for a moment of turning. Let us delve into the gifts of darkness at the winter solstice. We follow curiosity and contemplation down into the cold earth, taking a journey to the world below the surface. Here we find seeds, including some that will not sprout unless they first wait through the cold. Life finds rest and renewal in the darkness. May those who are weary find comfort. May those who are struggling find meaning and companionship. May those who are injured or ill find recovery. May those who hunger find abundance. Let this be a time of healing, and may the dreams of the dark lead us to share these gifts with one another. Let this time be a celebration. What joy can be found, let us hold it close, blow on its embers, and share its spark. We do not take for granted having come this far, and we give thanks for our companions on the journey. Let us now dwell together for a moment of silent prayer and meditation. Into this shared silence, if you wish to, you may hold up the name of any you wish for the prayers and love for this community. Jeff Hogue and Steve Hogue. These and all good souls who could not be named, we hold them in our hearts. Amen. Today's offering will be shared with an organization that is well known and loved by many of us. Eliot Chapel has been honored to serve room at the inn for many, many years now. Since the pandemic, the unhoused guests at Room at the Inn now have their own place rather than traveling from church to church, which is better for them, certainly easier. But we still have a role to play in supporting them, and that is supporting them with our gifts of money. Please give generously. The ushers will please come forward and collect the offering. I invite you to share the words of dedication for our offering. They're in your order of service. To the work of the church, which is weaving a tapestry of love and action, we dedicate our lives, and these are offerings. Thank you.
is to serve you, the amazing congregations, helping us all to lead lives of justice, learning, joy, love, and hope. Let's give it up to our inspiring host, the well-loved, super kind, sometimes childish, and often annoying, Ellen DeUnitarian!
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Thank you. It's very good to be with you today. We have a great show for you today. It's Yule, or Winter Solstice, the shortest day and the longest night of the year. A high point for Earth-centered people, at least if you live in the Northern Hemisphere. In the Southern Hemisphere, it's hotter than blazes. You're wearing your Santa swimsuit, sitting by the ocean, sipping frozen drinks. But here, it's the land of shadow. Long, chilly nights, getting cozy by the fire, sipping hot chocolate, kissing under mistletoe. Oh, this is a pagan day. Pagan having come to mean the catch-all phrase for all the tribal religions that were supposedly earth-centered and matriarchal before the Roman Empire came and messed it all up. Today, it's a widespread movement about reclaiming ancient ways and ancient folklore to get us back in touch with each other. Which reminds me of a joke. How many pagans does it take to change a light bulb?
How many?
151. 1 to change a light bulb, 100 to prepare the environmental impact statement, and the rest to do a self-criticism afterwards. Not unlike Unitarian Universalists, actually. But enough of the foolishness. We've got 4 great guests for you. In the spirit of paganism, we have folks representing the East, the South, the West, and the North. Please welcome our first guest. He's often found on our eastern shores covering the latest hurricane. He's an institution, the famous meteorologist from the Weather Channel, Jim Cantori.
This is it, folks. We're on the outer edge of a Cat 5 hurricane. The winds are going to be picking up to 130 miles per hour. If I wasn't holding onto this railing, I'd be blowing all over the place. Everybody, if you haven't evacuated by now, hunker down, because things are going to get a little unsafe. It's just going to...
Jim, down. We're not in a hurricane. We're on a TV studio, UU Vision television. It's all fine. Everything's fine. You're good.
Oh, gosh. Well, what a relief. Sorry, folks. Everything's okay. Everyone's good. Let me catch my breath.
Sit down, Jim. So, Jim, you've been at the Weather Channel a long time since graduating college. You might have been there a bit too long, if you know what I mean, if you catch my drift. You've been called the rock star of meteorologists, which is quite an honor. So let me ask you this. Whatever compelled you to become the guy who stands outdoors in super bad storms and gets hammered by the wind?
Interesting you should ask that. You know how people speak with this reverent tone when they're standing under the night sky, looking at the stars, feeling like they're a part of the universe?
Yep.
That wasn't me. It was boring. As a kid, I'd stand on the front lawn and I'd watch the storm come in until my mama yelled, "Jim, you get in here. Why are you always determined to break my heart?" Boy, she'd get mad.
I bet she did. If I was your mother, I'd be furious with you, probably even more than her.
Good thing you're not my mother.
Indeed. So what was going on with you when you stood in the path of the storm?
Well, there was something about the energy, the smell, the air, the rolling sky, clouds of so many colors, the crack of lightning and the whoosh when the storm finally arrived and the trees bent in the wind and the rain came pouring down and there's nothing like it. That is pure joy to me.
Jim? Studio. People. Roof. Sit down.
Ellen, do you have trouble with joy? Do you have trouble with people embodying joy?
The interview here. Let's get back on track. So, okay, I get it. You get a lot of joy from these dramatic moments. But what makes me curious is that most of the storms you cover are putting the lives of people at risk. Many are going to lose everything. Some have said that you make these bad storms into entertainment, which kind of devalues the suffering of those who are in them. And the strength of these storms is getting worse. And you don't say anything about that. There's going to be more loss and more devastation. Where is the joy in that, Jim?
That's a hard question, Ellen, but a good question. One of my favorite people was Ross Gay, who's a former football player. When asked, how can we be joyful in a moment like this, he says, how can we not be joyful, especially in a moment like this? Train your gaze on to see what's terrible, but also to see what's wonderful and what's beautiful. There's a beauty and terror all wrapped up together in a storm. Storms renew life and storms destroy life. There's no doubt that we've got ourselves into a real mess with this climate change, and it's going to get worse. And still, the earth is having its say with these big storms. Watching a storm is like watching poetry fall into place. The joy isn't just the moment when I get out there and I feel it on my body, although that is a rush. It's the whole process, which also includes the human response. I'm here for the people who are hunkered down, hoping they're going to make it. And yeah, the big storms are going to change people's lives, but that's all a part of the feeling of a storm. This awestruck feeling that we're all connected, from the smallest puff of air to the jam-packed interstate as people try to get out of the storm's path. This overwhelming, awestruck feeling that we are in the earth and it is in us. It's when I feel most alive. It's when I feel a real joy, not a cheap joy, but a deep, connected, sustained joy.
So what I'm hearing from you, Jim, is that your joy comes from this awestruck feeling of total interconnection, that everything is all bound up together?
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Well, Jim, that's a lot to think about. It's an honor having you with us. Thanks for being here. Keep up the great work. Give it up for Jim Cantori.
Thank you, Ellen.
Our next guest is a gutsy woman with the voice of a sparrow. She is loved by many, has been ridiculed by many, but has always managed to be the last woman standing.
Let's give a warm welcome to Dolly Parton. Have a seat, Dolly. Oh, Dolly, Dolly, Dolly. I have dreamed of this day. I have a question I have been dying to ask you.
Go for it.
What is it like to be the #1 pick of drag queens all around the world?
Oh, sweetie pie, I was warned about you. But I tell you, it's completely and totally an honor to be chosen as a woman worthy of imitating. Honestly, every one of those queens is my family. And I just want to hug them all close because I'm so proud of their courage, their perseverance. When I see a drag queen strutting her stuff, looking like me, I think to myself, wow, that girl's on fire. It's also comforting to know there are other women who are willing to spend a heap of money to look this cheap.
So this is what I've always wondered about you. Every time I see you, you're happy. When you sing, you're smiling. Are you really always annoyingly happy? Or is it an act? Because if you're happy like a blonde, then you're not really happy, are you?
Oh, honey, you are the last person in the world I thought would ask me that kind of question. Even though that is patronizing question, almost in the same category as my interview with Barbara Walters in 1977. Ellen, I'm going to put you in your place. No, I'm not always happy. Ask my husband, ask my kids, ask my band. Just like you and everyone else here, I've had loss. I've had hardship. I've had heartbreak and misunderstandings. And as a woman, I had to fight twice as hard to get where I am. But I used all that tough stuff to get strong and to get where I am, where my whole reason for being in the world is to lift my voice. When I sing, I am joyful, or I get joyful. Singing has been my home since I was born.
All right, given that, you've done thousands of concerts, sung the same songs over and over and over. Don't you get tired and just want to take that song and say, I'm done with you, retire already?
You really have trouble with joy, don't you, Ellen? You poor baby. Truthfully, I do get tired of the old songs in moments, but this life is what I fought for when everyone wrote me off, said I was dumb and ridiculous, should stay home and raise my babies. Those old songs are my dearest friends. They have carried me all my life. They have fed and housed my children, and now those old songs are helping children read and families put food on their table. Those songs have brought joy to so many, and when I sing them, if I didn't feel joyful when I started, I get there by the end. You asked if my smiles are real. Again, quite patronizing, but I will humor you. This is what I've learned about smiling. Smiling makes you happy, and happiness brings you to joy. It begins in the body, moves into the mind, and lodges in the heart. I invite you all to try it sometimes. When you're doing the normal stuff on your life, start smiling. It'll feel odd at first, but the longer you smile, the more you actually leap from happiness to joy. And ultimately, I begin to feel connected to everything and everyone. My fans, my band, my family, and all those I have come to love.
Interesting. That's just what Jim Cantori said, that through joy he feels connected to everything. What do you make of that?
Well, I'd say that deep down, Jim and I are both queens. He wears a flashy raincoat, and I wear a flashy wig and sequins. We are both big, sparkling personality, choosing joy.
It has been a pleasure, Dolly. Keep doing what you're doing. You are fabulous. Give it up for Dolly Parton. Our next guest is a sad but sweet character who has found joy even though he is basically obsolete. Give a warm welcome to Willie of the Wild West. Have a seat. Oh, Willie, it must have been quite a journey. Oh, yeah, it must have been quite a journey to come back from obscurity.
Well, it sure was. In the heyday of cowboy times, everyone wanted to be me. I had the handsome horse. I rarely lost a head of cattle to a coyote. I never had to change the look in my eyes or the inflection in my voice to get my meaning across. Because I was the quintessential self-controlled man. I cooked savory beans by the open fire and pitched my tent on a mountainside, held my whiskey like a man. You could say I put John Wayne to shame.
That's quite an accomplishment. But did you have joy?
Absolutely. Every day was an adventure. I was truly at home.
But then what happened?
Well, first thing that happened is I started finding the ladies didn't want a man who didn't show emotion. Smile, they'd say. Show your feelings, they'd say. I want to know what you're thinking. Ugh. Cowboys don't smile. At best, they smirk. We don't share our feelings. We bottle them up inside, and when it gets to be too much, we go pick a fight at a bar and lose a few more teeth. I never had time to think about my thoughts. Then PETA started talking to us about how we treat our horses and our cattle, and the Sierra Club says we was desecrating the landscape. And the suburbs of Los Angeles took all the water for their lawns. But worst of all, the people started going vegetarian and vegan. What am I supposed to do? Round up soybeans in Iowa?
Gosh darn it, Willie. If we didn't have to social distance, I'd be hugging you right now.
Well, that'd make it worse. Cowboys don't hug.
Of course. Okay. So basically, you went obsolete. Like when electronics go obsolete, we just chuck them out. What do we do with humans? What did you do?
Well, I'm going to tell you a secret.
What? Sorry, Willie, we can't hear you.
Meditate.
Sorry, you're going to have to use your words.
Meditate! Well, after I pastured my handsome horse and stowed my camping gear and swallowed my last slug of whiskey, I took the advice of this old hippie hiker I met while I was riding the trails in Colorado. I went to Missouri to the Midwest Unitarian Universalist Summer Assembly. Changed my life. Every morning there's a group that meditates when the sun rose. At first I felt kind of stupid sitting there in a circle with a bunch of vegetarians, but then I came to like it, and when Musa was over, I kept at it.
What happened?
Well, I'm going to use the words of Wendell Berry, author and environmentalist. There were the elemental pleasures of eating, drinking, and resting, being dry while it's raining, of getting dry after getting wet, of getting warm again after getting cold, of cooling off after getting hot. There was pleasure to be taken in good work animals. There were certain pleasures in the work itself. There was pleasure in hunting, and going to town, and in visiting and accepting company. There was pleasure in observing and remembering the behavior of things and in telling about it.
So, did you find a way to get back to joy, Willie?
Well, one day I went to visit my horse. I rolled out my old sleeping bag in the pasture and sat down to meditate. I felt the sun on my face and the wind in my thinning hair and the smell of the horse manure, and it was like
let me guess, you felt connected to everything.
I did. And then the joy erupted in me. It was that dry spell was like being filled by a cool, long drink of water.
Wow, Willie, that is quite a story. Thanks for being here. It's been great having you. Give it up for Willie of the Wild West. So, folks, are you seeing how this is playing out? So far, it's 3 for 3. Apparently, joy happens when we have the experience of being connected to everything. Let's see what our fourth guest has to say. She's from small-town northern Minnesota. Like almost everyone else from that part of the country, she skated before she walked. But unlike most girls in her town, she didn't figure skate. She went for hockey. She is now considered the #1 female hockey player in her league and the toughest, baddest hockey player in America. Give it up for Ellie. Why don't you have a seat, Ellie?
Oh, yeah.
It's great to have you on the show.
Oh, yeah.
Looks like you've got a lot of joy just sitting there.
Oh, yeah.
Is there anything you say besides, yeah?
Yeah.
All right, let's see if we can do that, okay?
Yeah.
Good. Okay. So, you play hockey. You probably get a lot of joy playing from hockey. What gives you joy about hockey?
Well, I get joy from hockey because, oh, Ellen, I've just got to say this. I can't believe I'm sitting here next to you. I watch your show between practices. I love how you dance. I love your understated demeanor and your understated manner. I love the color of your suit jackets. I wish I could be you. It's almost too much to be sitting here. Ellen, you're the bomb.
Wow. Thank you. I'm really honored. Thank you for telling me that. It looks like you're having a lot of joy.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Let's start with that. Sit down. Let's try this again, Ellie. We're talking about hockey. And yes, I know what it means to be joyful, just in case you're wondering. But we're talking about hockey. What gives you joy about hockey?
Oh, all right. I love hockey because of how my blades feel on the ice, because of what it feels like being so focused. You know exactly where your teammates are. It's like you're breathing together and you're playing out formations you've done in practice like a million times. It's like a painting that suddenly comes to life. When the crowd roars, you want to roar back. You're skating so fast it feels like everything is possible. It's like every nerve in your body is at the end of your hockey stick. And I can't believe all you want to talk about is the joy that isn't happening right now. Oh, sure, I can tell you all about hockey. Just like I do with every other talk show host. All they want to know is, how does it feel like being a girl playing hockey? But hockey's the joy that's not happening right now. And the joy that's happening right now is that I'm here on your show. Can't you just let me live in the moment? Joy like this doesn't happen every day. You have to savor it. Hold it up. Just be in it. Yeah!
Either something really great's happening here and I am just clueless, or this interview is crashing and burning. So, sit down. So, you think you might be able to stay in the joy that you're feeling now and tell me about the joy playing hockey?
If you insist.
I do.
So, the thing about hockey is that you have to be fully in the moment. You can't think about what just happened in the last play or worry about what's going to happen 5 minutes from now. You have to be fully aware of what's happening around you in that moment. At most, you're thinking 30 seconds ahead, because that's about how long a play takes. You're watching your teammates, you're watching your opponents, watching the puck. thinking so fast and moving your body that the same speed as you're thinking. It's so intense and so beautiful, but it's also mindful. Because to be fully in the moment, nothing else can crowd into your mind. And even if we're behind, even if the game isn't going like you want it to, just focus on the ice, your body, your breathing, your formation. That intensity is joy. And really, you get to a point where you...
Let me guess. You feel connected to everything.
Yeah!
Well, thanks for being here, Ellie.
Oh, no. You're not cutting into my joy one more time. You know what I want more than anything else?
What?
To dance to your theme song with you like you do with your other guests.
Well, I guess to be in the moment. Thank you so much, Ellie, Willie, Dolly, Jim, for being on the show. And yes, thank you for teaching us to say yes to the joy that is right in the moment. Thank you.
Yeah!
So what do you think, folks? We've got 4 different paths to joy here, and I'm curious to see which one spoke to you the most. If it was Jim Cantori who finds joy through the power of nature, give us a holler. What about Dolly Parton, who finds joy in singing her heart out? And then there's Willie from the Wild West, who found joy through going inside and centering. And then what about Ellie, who apparently finds joy in me? You know, those pagans who made this stuff up, that winter solstice thing all those eons ago, they had something going on. The days getting shorter was a way bigger deal for them than it is for us. There were no meteorologists to explain this. They didn't have electricity to fill their homes' heat. What they had was each other. And they had their stories about the gods going into hiding as the nights got longer and coming back to them when the sun came back. And on the night of winter solstice, they would hang out together around the fire, kind of like we're hanging out here. They'd tell stories, they'd sing and wait. And they really did experience a profound joy when the sun came back, because it meant they got through it. And we are getting through it too. There's a lot to be worried about in our time. Sometimes it feels like the gods are hiding from us. We come here in community to remember that we're not alone, to relearn that we are all connected to each other, and that the sun does come back in all kinds of ways. In this season of cheer, of this solstice season, may it be bright and bring you joys and much happiness. In this season of good cheer, may the return of the light of this solstice season be bright and keep giving you joy and happiness. Thank you very much.
Well, gang, if they could do all that, we can sing. Our closing hymn is "O Christmas Tree." Please rise in body or in spirit and sing with gusto.
Oh,
for the closing words. Now may the love which overcomes all differences, which heals all wounds, which puts to flight all fears, which reconciles all who are separated, be in us and among us now and always. Amen. Please be seated. Go in peace.